Welcome to the BiCurean podcast, where we explore and embrace the seeming contradictions of life. What actually is BiCurean, you ask?
Well, you may not necessarily have a mental concept of BiCurean, partially maybe because it's a made-up word. You embody it. What's happening right now in terms of the divisions between us is a focus on that which is different.
And lack of understanding and empathy for people's beliefs is no longer an excuse.
And it is in the differences we carry in ourselves that we find the BiCurean moment.
When you really dig into something, you're going to see some depth to it. It's not just a race thing. It's not just a conservation thing.
It's letting go of the or to make room for the and. We embrace all of you. Welcome to the BiCurean.
Welcome to the BiCurean podcast. I am Aisla.
And I am Eric.
And this week, we're going to talk about a very important and controversial debate.
It is. It's something I feel passionate about, too.
It's something we don't agree on.
No.
Strongly.
No.
And while I respect Eric in many ways, he has many opinions that even when I'm not sure where they came from, I can really give him a chance. But this one, I don't know.
People should take note. It's one of the few things that Aisla and I don't tend to agree on.
And it is dogs versus cats.
Yes.
Can you do something to my voice so it sounds like dogs versus cats?
That'd be too much work.
Okay. Well, for our listeners, I want you to pretend that there was this dramatic kind of audio filter on my voice. Dogs versus cats. But,
Yes.
but not like a Satan demon or whatever.
That was a little scary.
Sorry.
We don't want to scare people.
We just practice for the reign of terror, so that's what I'm going to... So, I would say one of the challenges to this topic, dogs versus cats, is we sort of probably need to define our win conditions here.
Okay.
So, for instance, if we were to say, what makes a better animal or pet? Well, if they're smart, they're better. Well, then dogs win. Or
Seeing it's where you're already wrong, but
no, I have an article right here on the science of dogs and cats.
Was it written by a dog or a person who loves dogs?
No, it was written by a scientist. Dogs have 530 million neurons calculating their behavior as opposed to a mere 250 million in cats. And dogs have multiple ways to communicate, whereas cats usually don't because they don't have capacity. It's fine.
Huh.
Yeah. So there's that. So intelligence, I mean, I'm fine with rating intelligence at the top of the list. However, that puts you at a massive handicap. You've already lost. And I want to start out that way.
Okay.
So I don't know. Or maybe we should just get into maybe the benefits. We could ask our listeners maybe to tell us who they feel made the better case for dogs versus cats.
Okay.
Let's do that.
I'm all for it.
Okay.
So, I'll start with some real facts.
Oh, excuse me. I actually started with a fact.
Yeah, it's like your opinion, man.
That a scientist came up with. So,
cats. First, let me state, I have grown up owning cats. I have had dogs too. In and out of my life, various roommates and folks that I've been around. I'm not opposed to dogs at all. I like them. I actually tend to find them more difficult to associate with than cats. And there's really no easier way for me to explain that. I really feel like I've just kind of had a kinship with cats. And we found some lists of things. And this is the core and crux of our arguments here. So, interestingly, my first point would be that studies have found that owning a cat can lower your stress levels and have a positive effect on heart and other physical health. I can tell you that, when I have been sick, or even if I'm just relaxing and lay down on the couch and a cat hops up on me and wants to sit on me and purr, there's few things on a stressful day that are more therapeutic than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's true. And it's also true for dogs that, they can be, if you are a dog owner, you're 50% more likely to get the recommended exercise every day That's one of the big differences between the health benefits of a dog and a cat is dog owners tend to get more exercise because they have to walk them.
Well, another interesting factoid about cats. Their purring is actually incredibly healing, like proven to be at the vibrational rates of anywhere from 20 to 140 hertz. Studies have found that anything in the 18 to 35 range of vibration is really, really healing to bones, tissue, and that's why I think they've even proven that cats purr sometimes to comfort themselves. And anybody who's owned a high quality back massager can attest that having a little living furry back massager that comes and sits on you is very healing.
I can see that. How do they respond to direction? Like if you have a cat, and be honest, as a cat owner, do you feel that the majority of the time that a cat will give you the attention that they feel like giving you, or more that you get a little bit more of direction around it?
So, and I've had several cats in my life, and I have three right now that all come when they're called. One always comes when he's called, and the other two, it varies slightly, but they actually do come when they're called. And I do have a cat that is a dog. He's a dog. Ghost is a dog. He likes to play fetch.
He
and
probably
in
has
fact,
like 350 million neurons.
Maybe. I don't know. He comes and he drops his toy, whichever one he'll pick, in front of you and want it to be thrown. He has a favorite toy. He brings it to bed with him and carries it around. And when you throw it, he runs and he gets it and he brings it back and he will play that game until you are tired.
Oh, yeah.
He never gets tired. I have seen your border collie give up more often than my cat.
Well, because I tell her to. That's one of the main differences is that she's capable of receiving the instruction that we're no longer playing. Whereas your cat, when we say we're no longer playing, he says, huh, what? And then he takes his little sharp pointy claw bit and puts it on my soft foot bit and pokes.
Yeah, it's because he's smart. He knows who to go after. I'll stop playing and then he will come and sit and cuddle up. But I've just never had a cat that interactive.
No, he's really He's really fun. I have to admit, like Ghost's a fun cat because he's a lot like a dog. So in addition to heart health, which both of them give you, and reducing stress in different ways, dogs and cats, I would say cats, the purring thing for the bones is unique to cats. It's a benefit. And dogs actually improve your social life. Many people who have dogs find it is easier to make friends because they're such a great conversation piece, and you have to go out with them once again.
I would believe that.
So.
Something more near and dear to my heart, which is quality sleep, and I can again attest from personal experience that even on a restless night when I lay down to go to bed, when a cat jumps up and comes and snuggles me, I have a cat that sleeps right by my head, and he loves to purr, and he'll just fall asleep purring, so you'll know he's asleep when he stops purring. I always sleep better with my cat cuddled up next to me. And it harkens back. It's like sleeping with a stuffed animal, except it purrs when you pet it. They've proven in tests that cats help people sleep better.
Yeah. Well, sleep's a really important thing. So I'll give you that one. This one I thought was interesting. They've discovered both cats and dogs mean fewer allergies if you have kids. If you get a pet, but I think it's before your child is 3, the likelihood that your pet will be allergic to animals is significantly lower.
Your pet or your kid?
I'm sorry, your kid will be allergic to animals. Sorry.
That's good, because I worry about my pet's allergies, and I've had pets with allergies.
I'm glad you didn't go with, I think my kids are pets.
I sounded Freudian to me, but we'll leave it at that.
Thanks. God.
So cats have been found to make men more attractive to women at a rate of men with a cat. 90% of single women perceiving men with cats as nicer and more caring.
Huh. So for you single fellas out there,
cats need a certain amount of nurturing. You're right. They don't necessarily have that dog instinct of self-care. And so a cat is a commitment in a different way. And it's funny because they're also kind of autopilot, right? They use a box, you feed them, they kind of do their thing. But in a lot of ways, there's a nurturing that's required. And I think that's one of the things that makes cat ownership indicative of sensitive people.
I wish people could see the look on your face right now. Because it's just, there's a smugness to it that really goes against this whole sensitive people
Well,
thing.
I learned from cats. And the argument that cats are not smarter, they have convinced humans to do everything for them, all for the privilege of scratching them. And I love them for it. They're so smart. They figured out how to game the system like nobody else.
They didn't really, though, but that's fine. I'll move on. Reducing doctor visits. If you're over 65 and you own a pet, odds are you seek medical help about 30% less often than people who don't have a pet. However, and they said, while cats, birds, and other animals are helpful, owners of dogs in particular were buffered from the impact of stressful life events on physician utilization. So if you want to see the doctor less frequently, get a dog.
So to my point, cats reduce stress as well, but they do it for a different reason. Cats are known for being super low maintenance, and a simple petting session is usually enough to make both you and your cat happy. And I admit that this is actually one of the things about a dog is that, on a daily basis, I lived in a townhome and we had a dog here with a friend, and that friend worked later hours than I did. And it's a chore, right? You have to take the dog for a walk and do all that sort of thing. There is a certain low stress about coming home, seeing your little kitty, give it a scritch. It goes and it lays down somewhere. It takes care of itself. You got to clean its box once in a while. Like once a day, I clean the box. But realistically, it's a lot less of a chore. And they've actually equated that to it being a lower stress pet ownership experience to have a cat.
Yeah, having a border collie, not just a dog, but a border collie, I can say yes, the cats can be lower stress. I found that the cats that I had to be actually a lot of work in a different way. So I kind of personal experience anecdotally, which we know the plural of anecdote is not data. However, anecdotally, I would say that they each have their stresses. It's kind of a wash. Depends more on your personality, which one's more stressful.
Yeah. It always feels less stressful when I don't have to walk a dog multiple times a day.
That's fair.
What's yours?
So this one, battle disease and injury. It's believed that owning a dog can help detect, treat, and manage a variety of illnesses and debilitations.
I have heard this. It's a little woo, but there are stories of dogs actually detecting illness in their owners.
Yeah, this is saying that they can be trained to detect kidney, bladder, and prostate cancer, and that people who have, and once again, it's the mobility thing, people who have things like a traumatic brain injury or autism or rheumatoid or arthritis will benefit from interacting with the dog, probably because of the movement, those kinds of things that are required. Like, as you were saying, this chore of walking the dog is also the benefit, because for people who are very sedentary, that might be the only 10 minutes of movement that they get in a day.
I can see that.
And they're forced to do it unless they want the dog to make a mess. So it becomes a catalyst for self-care in that particular way. Like, people who don't have dogs are sedentary 30 minutes more per day than those who did. And it just, like, and everything we've heard is a very small amount of walking will increase your overall health. So you could walk a cat. I have done it. I had a cat that I put on a leash. I've also walked a dog, and I'll say walking dog's a little bit easier.
I'd like to play a game.
Okay.
We're going to play a version of Family Feud.
Okay, let's do it.
Survey said, this animal is most frequently watched on the internet for its relaxation and enjoyment the world around.
It's a trick question, but cats.
Oh, of course. I am perfectly aware that, so far as I can tell, the internet is generally a place for people to spew hate and watch cat videos. That's a fact. That's harsh. It's not all hate. Some of it's just mild anger, but whatever.
Yeah.
But in general, you don't hear about all of those hours that people spend watching dog videos. And they've actually done studies, and watching cat videos does have a very positive mental effects. You don't even have to be a cat owner to get the benefits of cats.
Okay, that's a point. I'm going to give you that. That's a point in your favor. So I also found this very interesting, fun little thing. It said 23 tweets that sum up the difference between cat people and dog people. And this kind of talks a little bit about the different, like whether or not what your preference for cats or dogs says about you. So my love of dogs versus your love of cats says that you're more quiet, sensitive, and nonconformist than the typical person.
Can confirm.
I am more outgoing, conscientious, and rule following than the typical person.
Also can confirm.
Yeah, I'm not, I can go back and forth, but I think you're right about that. I do like this. The difference between dog people and cat people. Dog people wish their dogs were people. Cat people wish they were cats.
I completely agree. There's few things that actually do upset me more than coming home and seeing that my cat just laid on the couch all day. And that's exactly what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
I often wished that I could just cat out for a day. And secretly, I have a few times.
Here's another one. A dog person says, dogs are so good and their love is so pure. A cat person says, cats have been oppressed since the dawn of the Black Death. Don't think I don't see your anti-cat agenda. Wake up, sheeple.
Agree.
So, dog people hate cats and cat people hate people.
See, that's somebody who likes dogs and has a completely wrong impression of cat people.
Okay. Do you think dog people hate cats?
It's been a mixed bag because I know plenty of people who have had both animals, and they usually gravitate towards one or the other. But the majority of people that I know have had both at some point.
So, I'm not feeling like either of us really, won this.
Well, I want to tug on the heartstrings. I got one more argument here.
Okay. All right.
This is for some of our other listeners that maybe haven't felt that we've made an argument towards something they would care about directly. But how about this? Owning a cat is better for the environment. A 2009 study found that resources needed to feed a dog over the course of its life create the same eco footprint as that of a Land Cruiser. If you own a dog, you own an SUV.
I love SUVs.
Meanwhile, cats, which eat less in general and are more likely to eat fish than corn or beef-flavored products, only have an approximate carbon footprint of a small hatchback. So, if you're a Prius person, get a cat. If you're an Expedition person, get a dog.
Oh. Well, I am an Expedition, but I got a hybrid. That's what I did.
So I think you need to own a cat and a dog.
I've been thinking about it, I'll be honest. I do actually like cats, and I appreciate that I get to visit your cats and scritch them and throw the chicken for Ghost.
I think the real moral of the story is that people should own pets. It is really healthy. There's very little downside to it. Life is lonely, even if we have friends and partners and that sort of thing. It's always nice to have something that you come home to and it loves you unconditionally, regardless of which genus it came from.
That's fair. Well, I think I'm also trying to adjust to I can't have a cat anymore because we found out that Tim is allergic. It affects him very badly.
I don't know what I'd do. I can tell you what my partner does. She is currently taking drops to deal with her lifelong cat allergy because she loves our cats as much as I do and cuddles them and deals with allergies constantly and has finally found a treatment that involves, essentially it's like immersion therapy. You are increasingly exposed to the allergens that mildly trigger you all the time to the point where your body will finally build a defense. I don't know if it's going to work, but I hope so. And regardless, it's not going to stop her from snuggling our cats all the time.
Yeah, I've talked to him about they have shot therapy where you can go in and get shots 3 times a week for like 2 years and then you won't have a cat allergy anymore.
And I think there are very few things people are willing to do themselves in that regard, other than when it comes to animals. So
Yeah, it's true. Well, I'm going to say I agree that owning a pet, or I guess, did you know in Boulder you can't own a pet?
Really?
It's against that you can't. Yeah, I worked in Boulder. I live in Boulder County. I worked in Boulder. And there's a rule. You don't own a pet. You are your pet's guardian or companion. That's how that works there.
Gotcha.
So.
That's fair.
just
I keep cats. I don't own them.
You're not allowed to own your pets, though. If you're in Boulder, you have
but
to.
But can I keep them?
You're going to have to look that one up. I just thought that was hilarious. You're also not allowed to dye them, which on the one hand, I don't
Actually,
know
that's a law in a lot of places.
I'm not.
And that's one of those things that begs the question, like, what got out of hand enough to cause that law to need to be passed?
Yeah, we should look that up.
It's also illegal to pierce their ears. Again, somebody had that experience and it led to a law being passed.
Yes.
Just saying.
Why? Okay.
I'm just saying. I know these things. You're right. It is illegal to dye a pet, and it is illegal to dye or pierce a pet's ears. So look it up.
Take that.
Check your local jurisdiction
before
you decide to do either of those things to your pet.
Right. Well, and I always had cats that went outdoors, and I didn't know that a lot of cities also have laws about your cat isn't allowed to leave your property.
Right.
So
they do consider them strays, and even with a collar.
Right. I didn't know that.
I am a huge advocate for cats belong indoors. They're not actually that smart when it comes to being outside. They get caught up in their own business, and it's a dangerous world out there for them. So
I had never had indoor cats until I was in my late 20s. I always had outdoor cats, and they were fine. Never had any problems. And never, I had one cat that was actually really smart, and I could tell her to go get her sister. I was like, the other cat got out and it's time to go to bed. And I'd let the one ct out. I'd be like, go get the other cat. She'd come back 10 minutes later with the other cat. It was always fine.
I grew up with it. They tend to do okay, right up till they don't. And male cats are a little bit worse. They tend to get a wider, even if they're fixed, they tend to get a wider range and can wander pretty far at times. One of my favorite online personalities with his comics, The Oatmeal, started something a few years ago where you should put an orange collar on your indoor cat to identify them as an indoor cat, and also because it looks like an orange jumpsuit in jail. That's his sense of humor, and I appreciate it.
No, we did that for when I was taking care of my daughter's cat. We put, because she's indoor. All my cats have been indoors since. I don't have a cat. Currently, I have a dog, a border collie. Super awesome. I love my dog.
Yeah. Turns out what they don't know in the outside world can't hurt them, literally and figuratively.
Did you see how I got that in there about how awesome my dog is? It's a subliminal thing. So when we ask people who've listened to the episode whether dogs or cats are better, that's going to play in the back of their head. And more people are going to say dogs, because I just have really, I've helped them to feel it.
Well, we're looking forward to your comment. So if you have a dog or a cat in this hunt, please feel free to add a comment on any of our social media platforms.
Welcome to the BiCurean moment. And for this moment, we're going to have one shared moment.
The rest of our show is positive, so we have to look at something political and infuriating.
Oh, that's true. It's required. And so I found this one, and then when we were talking about it, Eric had some points, so we decided to talk about it together.
It's a co-BiCurean moment.
Co-BiCurean moment, yes. And it's a little bit about our values as a country and what inspires us to take action against harm. And so, for example, in the last 2-ish years, there have been more than 276 violent deaths by mass shootings, by guns in some way. And I should say mass shootings is probably the better way to say it. There's been significantly more by guns when you count homicide and suicide. And there have been 6-ish deaths in the migrant camps at the border.
I saw 8 at last count.
Okay, 8 deaths at the migrant camps at the border of children, migrant children, 3 of them from the flu. But we as an administration are not going to give flu vaccines to the children.
This was chosen on purpose They were asked. They said, we're not doing
They're
it.
not going to give them flu vaccines, even though the conditions of the camps are such that if the flu were to take root, we would probably see more deaths.
Yes.
And so, and those two things are, we don't really have much movement on gun control or reform or mental health improvement. We don't have a lot of movement on fixing the situation at the border. However, we've had now 8 people die from vaping using illegal tampered with cartridges.
Illegal cartridges that contain THC being sold on illegal black market street deals in places where THC is not legal.
And Michigan has already banned flavored vape juice.
California has.
And
New York is going to.
And the national federal government is talking about doing it. Trump is talking about doing.
Trump got straight up and said vaping's an issue and we're going to ban it.
So just to,
it's a massive public health crisis, I believe is what they said.
Right. It's a massive health. And so we've got that. 8 deaths, illegal cartridges, and that's what's being prioritized as to what needs to be dealt with.
So let's be clear. This is not an argument about the pros and cons of vaping. I vape. I quit smoking cigarettes 9 years ago and have been vaping. I'm a cyclist. I am active. I don't get sick anymore like I did when I smoked real cigarettes. It's the best thing that happened to me.
Okay, yeah.
But this is not necessarily about vaping. I also don't vape THC. I don't vape illegal black market THC cartridges being made.
You have to say that, though.
By people that they called it one of the largest drug busts in a very long time when they busted 2 guys manufacturing THC cartridges illegally in Wisconsin.
Wow. Okay.
And that's what the problems are. Those are completely unregulated, and frankly, the care in it, and all signs point, if you actually dig in, all signs point to the fact that somehow the way in which they're extracting the THC and adding it to the vape liquids, there's some contamination happening there that's causing massive lung damage to people.
Well, and just to be real, right? Like, there's enough vape stuff out there that if it is to be banned, then we'll probably see more deaths because there will be a massive demand for illegal flavored cartridges.
I mean, these are things you can buy. You can buy a bottle of nicotine liquid. You can buy propylene and vegetable glycol. Now, those sound like very scary terms to people, like as does dihydrogen oxide, which is water. Propylene and vegetable glycol are completely inert in the human body, been proven that way. They are used as the accelerants in inhalers for asthma patients because they carry the steroid to the place in the lungs where it needs to land. That's why it was chosen for vaping. There are some concerns about the temperature at which those liquids are vaporized, and in the vaping community, people have started recommending, and through actual scientific studies, they've found keeping your voltages lower and the temperatures down is a positive thing. But propylene and vegetable glycols are completely safe to breathe. In fact, next time you see a fog machine, that's what's coming out of it. It's what's in asthma inhalers. And then you add pure nicotine. It doesn't have the tar. It doesn't have any of the other addictive chemicals of cigarettes. Most people actually go through withdrawals switching from cigarettes to vaping because they're giving up a whole bunch of other chemicals that are not nicotine that they were addicted to. And when you go to just the pure things, now the problem becomes the issue of the flavors. Some of them are not as tested as far as what might happen, but as far as the 2 main ingredients go, you're fine. The THC tinctures, which replace the nicotine, are a concern, again, because they're being made in states where it's being done illegally. It's not much different than cooking meth. You may not blow up your house, but as far as the safety that goes into that, it's rough. So, again, the issue here would be, as we have done in Colorado, California, and all of these other places, legalize THC, regulate it, and make sure that the products being sold are safe.
Yeah. And that's my thing, is that I just, in this particular instance, it's really frustrating to me, the hypocrisy of the situation, where, and especially honestly coming from the right, it really frustrates me when they will institute this kind of weird control thing when they talk about like, don't tread on me kind of. And I know they're not libertarians, but there's definitely an affinity between like the libertarian and the right around, personal accountability, personal responsibility, and personal consequences. Like if you want to harm your body with vaping and you decide to buy something illegal, then there's a consequence to that. And should the community be doing some effort to prevent the illegal stuff from showing up? Yes. I mean, I think we should try and protect people in that way. However, that's a really different consequence than I get upset, I take my gun and I go shoot 10 people. Like then other people are bearing the burden of my issues.
That is a proven massive mental health crisis.
Yeah, it's been going on, and there's so many more people who are affected. And I'm just like, if it's this easy to address a crisis, let's actually do it. But let's address a real crisis.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the arguments around vaping have been myriad. A lot of it is banning flavors. Last time I walked through a liquor store, I saw a shelf far larger than it needed to be, lined with whipped cream vodka, cherry vodka, orange vodka, lemon vodka.
Yeah, and nobody thinks that
nobody is
to,
saying
like,
that the
get kids
candy
to drink.
Right, candy flavors of vodka are totally fine. Candy flavors of vape juice, public health crisis.
Yeah, no, it's a bizarre like line to draw.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but
so I mean, yeah, in my opinion, and the reason that this is the BiCurean moment for me is similar to what you said. We're looking at very micro issues while we let much larger issues run rampant, and it's great. It feels like politicking though, right? Because it's great when somebody will take an interest in something that is a concern, and you know what, we should. And for anyone who doesn't know, the FDA has actually been instituting all sorts of trials and regulations on vaping since companies like Juul started. A lot of them go into effect in November, but that's apparently not enough. And now it's in the news cycle. You can always tell it's in the news cycle if it gets Trump's attention, right? Because that's literally where he gets all of his information. But why can't we address other important issues with the same fervor?
yeah, I agree. Absolutely. That's why I was so frustrated when I saw the response. That's such a heavy response.
I'm not a fan of 8 people dying.
No,
in cages or from vaping.
Right.
I'm also not a fan of the several hundred mass shootings. And the fact that probably today, as we recorded this, 8 people have shot themselves in the last couple of hours around this country.
Yeah.
So where's the real crisis?
So with that, I'm going to say thanks for listening. If you have ideas, feedback, thoughts, please find us on social media. We are BiCurean on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and Instagram. Or you can give us a call at 720-507-7309 or email podcast@bicurean.com.
And if you like what we're doing, please rate us on your favorite listening platform of choice.
Thank you.